What is going on, everyone? It's your guy Cole Jackson back here on Road Graders, and today we are going to be diving into the hiring of Lamar Jackson's quarterback coach. We make more progress as the Baltimore Ravens continue to fill out this coaching staff going into 2025. We'll be talking about Israel Woolfork, goes by Izzy, so probably call him Israel Woolfork just for now. Just I don't think him and I are on nickname basis yet. We're going to dive into it. I'll let you guys. You know, give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. We'll go through obviously what we always do, get to know him, all that good stuff. So if you can do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. We just passed 10,000 subscribers. Absolutely incredible achievement. Can't thank you guys enough. I mean, this channel is nothing without you guys. There's no, I do this as a side hobby. It's really you guys that that keep me coming back. And so just from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for being here. I do have a new microphone as well. I'm going to need your feedback. If this is better, if this is worse, please let me know. Drop a comment down below just so that I can see it, fine tune. If it's too loud, if it's not loud enough, if there's background noise, just please keep that feedback coming. It really does help. Let's dive into it though. So let's dive into first off where we're at in terms of the chart. And so if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know this chart's been very beloved. I was a little surprised, but I'm glad it's people find it helpful. But as you can see on the left side with the offensive coaching staff, we're almost rounded out here with the additions the last 2 days of Israel Woolfork and Eddie Faulkner. Missing a wide receiver coach. It does sound like Tyler Tettleton has a big lead in that race. Tight end coach, I haven't heard of any candidates. You go to the other side, the defensive coordinator, Gold side, the addition of Miles Taylor as an assistant DB coach, leaving the University of Nebraska to come to Baltimore. Waiting on the front line, D line, outside linebackers. Haven't heard anything about Chuck Smith and what's going to kind of happen there. I could also see, another assistant being added. Obviously, I'm expecting Rick Minter to end up in Baltimore in a defensive assistant role. Still wondering if maybe we see Wink Martindale added into the mix at some phase. Worked with both Weaver and Jesse Minter, and we're still waiting on a special teams coordinator. So I know Anthony Levine has been involved in that process, but no firm there. I think we'll get that one in the next 24 hours to really round out where we're going with this. So let's dive into Israel Woolfork, get to know Lamar Jackson's new quarterback coach. Really interesting playing career. He was a 5-year wide receiver and special teamer at Grand Valley State. He won the 2009 Division II National Championship. And if you recognize Grand Valley State, that's probably because you talked about it back in 2016 when the Baltimore Ravens drafted Matt Judon. And in fact, Woolfork and Matt Judon played together for 3 years from 2010 to 2012. Pretty good teams at Grand Valley. If you guys remember, Matt Judon was like a 20 sack guy there. I know that was in his draft here in 2015 after Woolfork had already got into coaching, but it was interesting to kind of see that connection because that's one thing when we look at the coaching experience that Israel Woolfork here has here in the bottom right. You can see the chart. There's no overlap with current Ravens coaches. There is no overlap with Jesse Minter. There is no overlap with Declan Doyle. Um, Israel Woolfork really coached in under Kevin Stefanski and Drew Petzing, and that's kind of under the coming out of O'Connell and Minnesota, and really under the Shanahan tree. Whereas Declan Doyle has been really grabbing guys from the Sean Payton tree. So I thought that was really interesting when we look at this because we know they interviewed Ronald Curry, which was the current guy in Buffalo, and I saw Buffalo just hired someone, so he'll be moving somewhere else. But they were looking at Ronald Curry, and it sounds like it came down to Israel Woolfork and Ronald Curry as the finalists for the Ravens quarterback coach job. So I thought that was kind of interesting, just because there were connections with Declan Doyle and Ronald Curry. Ronald Curry was obviously, if you guys live in the Maryland, Virginia, he was a Virginia, high school Hall of Fame athlete. Both he was a McDonald's All American for basketball, and then he was highly rated in football as well. Actually, Mike Vick in his documentary talked about how that was a guy that he looked up to and competed with. So I thought that was really interesting. But they go with Israel Woolfork, and I think that really speaks to this coaching process. When we go back and we look at this chart, there are obviously guys that Minter and Doyle and Weaver, guys that they have connections with. But when you look at the addition of Israel Woolfork, when you look at the addition of Dwayne Ledford and then Eddie Faulkner after him, this has really been based on merit. They're trying to get the best guys in here based on their interview process. Some of them have connections, yes, like PJ Volker, um, Mike Mickens, guys that were connected to Jesse Minter. Miles Taylor also was connected to Jesse Minter. But then you get other guys that just weren't. Joe Lombardi was connected to Declan Doyle. So I think it was just interesting to kind of see that when we look at it. And it was interesting because he worked at Miami, Ohio, for 7 years. Started as a graduate assistant, coached the running backs, and actually two running backs under him in 2016 and 2017, if I remember correctly, set school records as a running back. And then he had one wide receiver that earned all conference honors. His last name was Sorensen. I can't remember his first name. And that kind of got him some attention. And then he ended up getting Wikipedia has this listed wrong, so it's written as the Bill Walsh NFL Diversity Coaching Fellowship. It's actually the Bill Willis Coaching Fellowship. This was a fellowship developed by the Cleveland Browns. It's an annual program designed to provide minority coaches with opportunities and career advancement. So basically, offering minority coaches, specifically in the college ranks, an opportunity to get into the NFL. And so he took that opportunity to leave Miami, Ohio, go to Cleveland, and he spent 2 years there in 2021, 2022 under Kevin Stefanski, who was the head coach. Alex Van Pelt was the offensive coordinator. Drew Petzing was the tight end coach, and then Chad O'Shea and Bill Callahan kind of rounded out that offensive staff. So that's really who he worked under in 2021, 2022. We know it's Cleveland. They've had that up and down quarterback situation, but that's really kind of how he got exposed to the NFL. And then how he ended up in Arizona was Drew Petzing was hired as Arizona's offensive coordinator in 2023, and he basically brought Woolfork with him. So he was coaching tight ends. Yeah, and I forgot to look up who the QB coach was. Um, but he was coaching tight ends. He gets that offensive coordinator role, and he brings Wolfirk over to coach quarterbacks. And then a couple other opportunities he's had in the 2024 offseason. He was the quarterback coach for the American team at the Senior Bowl. And we know that's a really important job because those guys get that firsthand experience working with the quarterbacks that are about to get drafted. And we've seen in recent years many top guys get involved in that. And he was also selected to participate in the NFL Coach Accelerator program in May of 2024. So this program was created to help promote greater diversity across the league. So the NFL, in addition to the Rooney Rule, and I mean, there's been so much talk about the Rooney Rule, and it's worth noting that Israel Woolfork was a candidate for the Bucks offensive coordinator job, and it was actually Woolfork, not Woolfork, starting the discussion. I saw Bucks fans talking about this, where a lot of people said they brought in Woolfork just to satisfy the Rooney Rule. So it's been interesting to see all the talk around this. I'll be interested in some of your guys' thoughts. Um, Personally, I'm just glad that we're getting a more diverse coaching staff here in Baltimore. At one point, it was predominantly white, and there's been more black coaches hired in the last few years, and I think that's really important. So moving on here, taking a look at some of his success in Arizona, and I know a lot of people are low on Kyler Murray, and that's fine. But one big thing was Kyler Murray returned from a major knee injury in 2023, and the Cardinals actually finished with a top 10 offense over the final 8 games. And I thought that really set up 2024, where their offense was quite good. The 2024 Cardinals offense, they had a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver. Really shows his contributions to that, working directly with Kyler Murray as Kyler Murray tried to, get back to, his Pro Bowl caliber self, where he kind of was early in his career under Cliff Kingsbury. And he had a pretty good year in 2024. I don't think he's necessarily going to be in that top 10 quarterback picture, but I thought he really bounced back. And then I thought you really saw Jacoby Brissett put together a good year in 2025 after Kyler Murray got hurt. He got hurt 5 games into the season. Jacoby Brissett started the final 12 games, and for a backup, he threw for 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. And the team still finished as the seventh best passing offense in the NFL. So, I mean, it really shows Woolfork's ability to work with a backup. And I thought it was a really good year for Jacoby Brissett, who, is one of those spot starters who can start for you. They didn't perform well. I believe in those 12 games they went 1-11. So I mean, they weren't winning the games, and that's relevant. But overall, I thought Jacoby Brissett as a quarterback, I thought he played, I thought he played better than what I would expect out of a backup quarterback, especially with what we saw here in Baltimore with a guy like Cooper Rush. So I think that really speaks to Woolfork's ability to kind of be a good positional coach. So overall, what are my thoughts on this hire? I mean, this is one of those hires where there's no doubt in my mind Lamar Jackson was involved in this process and, quote unquote signed off. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion. I'm sure there'll be comments down below about it. That the team was moving on from T Martin, and you saw earlier today. I'm recording this at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. You saw T. Martin post basically a goodbye message to Baltimore, and he was obviously informed that the team would be moving on from him. That's been Lamar's guy for so many years, and I have no doubt that Lamar was involved in that decision to move on, and I don't think it's a bad decision. I mean, it's tough to have the same positional coach for so long. New messages, new ways of coaching. I think all those things are really important. It's not to say it's not anything negative about T Martin. It's just sometimes change is good, and it can break old habits and bad habits and create new good habits, and it'll come with risk as well. Will these two will Israel Woolfork and Lamar Jackson work well together? I mean, they're not really going to know until rubber hits the ground. So we'll have to see. That's something to keep an eye on. But I think overall, this was a good hire. I think what I like about it is it wasn't based in relationship. It was based in merit. It was based in their interview process, which I've heard Lamar Jackson was involved in and weighed in on. So, he felt comfortable with that type of hire. And I have no doubt that, Declan Doyle and Jesse Minter were working together to make sure they were hiring a quarterback coach that fit the offensive coordinator, and that fit the quarterback. So I would assume that was a pretty heavy negotiation between those two pieces. So I'm really excited to see how this goes. I'm really excited to hear some of the inside stuff. What's the difference in practices? How does the team respond to just a whole new coaching staff? I think it's going to be fascinating. We haven't had this opportunity in Baltimore since 2008 to have a whole new coaching staff. Obviously, we've had major turnovers before, new offensive coordinators, but not a full revamp. And you're starting to see some of the exciting guys that they're bringing in. And I know a lot of people are saying, it looks good on paper. It doesn't matter if they don't pan out. And fair enough. I mean, I don't disagree with that. But I would say overall on paper, the Baltimore Ravens are nailing these hires. I think they're really exciting. And it doesn't matter if they don't win come September, no doubt about it. But overall, you got to feel pretty good about the direction of this team and the way Jesse Minter is running this process. I think for a first look at what you could expect from Jesse Minter, I think it's been very exciting. And I think there's a lot of positive takeaways. So overall, those are my thoughts on this hire. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here. And as always, my friends, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Peace out.